Look, Steve, I know it's different now. I know it's a new world. I'm on the front lines in it, just like you are. But the man I knew didn't hit that hard unless he had to. It seems to me that ever since the Red Skull escaped last month, you've been more on edge, more violent. Today on the Comic Book Report, Captain America by Ed Brubaker Omnibus Volume 1. Stick around and check it out. Greetings all, my name is Dominic and you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. Today I'm kicking off with the first volume of Ed Brubaker's epic Captain America run. This is a volume 1 for that Ed Brubaker run and you don't want to miss out. But first, some quick facts about today's collection. This Captain America Omnibus was written by Ed Brubaker and illustrated primarily by Steve Epting. The issues collected were initially published by Marvel Comics from 2005 to 2007. The volume itself collects Captain America, the 2005 run, from issues 1 through 25, along with Captain America, the 65th Anniversary Special Issue 1, and Winter Soldier, Winter Kills. This oversized hardcover collection comes in at 744 pages. At this time, I'd like to give a brief spoiler warning. I will be flipping through today's collection as well as commenting on plot points. You've been advised. Okay, and here's our first look at the Ed Brubaker Captain America Omnibus Volume 1. I actually have one of the direct market covers. I believe there are 2 of those, plus the standard cover. But I personally thought this picture of Captain America over a gravestone was the most impactful of all the covers. As we're continuing to take a look at the dust jacket, I just want to mention I've decided to review another omnibus because you all have been responding really well to my unboxings and omnibus reviews, so I thought I'd go ahead and share one of my favorites. And of course along the back here you can see all the issues that are included in this volume, which is always a nice touch. And it's 744 pages. While this isn't one of the larger omnibuses, it's for sure one of the largest of these Captain America Brubaker omnibuses. I just want to spend a moment sharing one more look at the dust jacket itself, as well as taking a look at the under the dust jacket art, which I do really love. But going back to the Ed Brubaker run, this omnibus is one of 5 omnibus volumes that collect the entirety of his long run. At the time of the recording, I believe the first 3 of those 5 are in print. I went ahead and snagged these just a few months ago when I saw that they reprinted them. Wow, isn't that art just beautiful? I love it. As far as what this collects, as I mentioned, it begins at the start of the Brubaker run and goes for about the first 2 years. You get into the Civil War era Captain America, so this is a really exciting time for the title. And really quickly, I just want to give a good look at the binding. You can see how it looks there. Because it's not too big, you don't have a ton of gutter loss, maybe a little bit, but it's really well bound. And of course, this oversized edition also comes with glossy pages, which I always love. And now that we're done with all the exterior shots, let's go ahead and open up the collection itself and get going on this review. And now that we have this underway, I just want to talk about how I first became aware of the title. So Ed Brubaker was a name I heard a lot. I read some of his criminal series. I read some of his other indie kind of crime comics, that he did a lot with Sean Phillips. He still is doing a lot with Sean Phillips. I also read his Daredevil run, which I love, being a huge Daredevil fan. And of course, I heard about this legendary, amazing, one of the best Captain America runs of all time. That, of course, being this one. And I'll be honest, Captain America himself was not a huge draw for me as a character. Growing up, this has always been my dad's favorite character, so I've always kind of had a special place in my heart for him. And, I really like the Marvel movies, but overall, beyond that, he didn't always do it for me. So I was initially attracted to this run by Brubaker himself, and I'm so happy I gave it a shot reading this run in the trade volumes so many years ago. I believe I had the entirety of this run collected in trades at one point. I did sell them off once upon a time, so I'm really eager that I got the first couple omnibuses, so I have at least a little over half of his run, which is great. Honestly, some of the earlier half of this run are some of my favorite of Brubaker's Captain America issues. I think if you're considering buying this run or reading through it and you're unfamiliar with all of this, One of your major draws to this title might be the introduction of the Winter Soldier. For fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Winter Soldier is among the best of the MCU movies, at least in my opinion. And that character is born in the pages of this omnibus. Within the Captain America continuity, Bucky Barnes, his trusted partner during the war, was long gone and thought dead and lost forever. Imagine his surprise when he turns up as a brainwashed Russian killing machine, that of course being the Winter Soldier. In addition to just innovating this character, really modernizing Captain America for modern audiences while still retaining some of the core tenets that make this character just timeless. Brubaker makes Steve Rogers more complex than I've ever seen him. I think with Boy Scout kind of characters, like Captain America, like Superman, it's sometimes hard to get a nuanced picture of who this character is, when a lot of the times they don't even appear to have flaws as paragons of moral integrity. But I think that we get to explore more of Steve's psyche and character, and while he doesn't necessarily sacrifice his morals in any way, you get a more realistic picture of what that means to carry the legacy and mantle of Captain America and having to make these day-by-day decisions that he does. We get to see Captain America stretched and sometimes at his breaking points. And for that, and so many other reasons, this Brubaker run is so well grounded in character. In addition to the Winter Soldier arc, you also get a storyline with Crossbones and the Red Skull's daughter, Sin. You also get the Civil War tie-ins from Captain America and a couple other issues kind of scattered throughout, including the incredible 65th anniversary issue that has a flashback story to World War II where they go Silver Age or Golden Age stylized kind of artwork, and that's just beautiful, and it's really striking in this collection where it punches out from the rest of this more realistic gritty artwork. And while we're talking about that, let's focus on the majority of the artwork found in this collection by Steve Epting. I think that Brubaker also has a strength in that he always gets attached to pencilers that really capture the tone and heart of the subject matter perfectly. Epting and the rest of the illustrators on this book really captured the kind of grim, gritty realism, the modern warfare, the weight, the stakes of this Captain America run. And it's just showcased beautifully. We get really detailed artwork that's a little darker, which is such a fun idea to do with a character that's usually vibrant red, white, and blue. Another feature that Brubaker and Epting kind of use throughout this collection that you've probably already seen is we get a lot of war-era flashbacks that are in a black and white or kind of a more subdued color palette. I really like this. I love how much, especially in these early few issues and story arcs, we see these flashbacks to World War II. It really helps lend credence to this idea that Captain America is a man out of time. He is a man that's been around for going on 100 years. I think another reason why the Captain America Brubaker run might be worth picking up for those of you that maybe don't always love the classic superhero antics you might find in Marvel and DC particularly, because this is a really good bridge to a Marvel comic that kind of still feels like an indie or kind of feels like more of a slice of life thriller, but packaged as a Captain America run. The stories themselves feel overall a lot more down to earth. Even Captain America himself, he's not exactly superpowered. I mean, I guess he's elevated to the heights of human possibility and maybe a little bit more, but for all intents and purposes, he's still just a man going up against other men and these kind of global terrorist threats. And again, it feels like a political action thriller more than it does a superhero comic most of the time. And because of that, I really think it's a lot of fun, especially for those that might not be into the fantastical, cosmic, greater, superheroic side of the Marvel Universe. This is a nice grounded corner that packs a huge punch and really has some incredible character work and storytelling throughout. Also, in case you didn't notice, this is that 65th anniversary issue I discussed. It by itself is almost worth the cost of entry for this book. It is a fantastic issue special that talks about a time in the war where Bucky kind of falls in love. And I love that it flashes back to this art style that's more reminiscent of the Golden and Silver Age era of comics. It's very vibrant, but it tells a really poignant and tragic story of war, sacrifice, and loss. Just an incredible issue that's smacked right in the middle of this collection. I think another reason to possibly pick up this collection if you've never read Brubaker, he's an incredible, incredible comic book writer. And like I said, I've read some of his crime stories for some of the independent publishers, and I really love them, but sometimes they border on a little too graphic or a little too violent or a little too explicit for my taste personally. While some of them are still very good, and I completely respect why they've won so many awards, sometimes I like my comics to be a little more, I guess, PG-13. So because of that, this is a great Brubaker book. This and the Daredevil run are a great, like, slightly subdued Brubaker, where you might not have as much profanity, nudity, or graphic violence, but still get kind of a PG-13 version that's still very strong, doesn't feel like it's pulling its punches. You get the richness of Brubaker, maybe without some of that hard content for those that, maybe like myself, don't prefer to read that stuff as much. Also worth noting, because this is a volume 1, I want to point out that this is a great place to start for new readers or for people that just want to check out Captain America as a character. You really don't have to have knowledge of his extended history, just the basics of who he is should do it. There might be references to previous stories, or there might be some secondary characters or villains you're not familiar with, but this does a great job of giving you the information you need to know as a brand new reader. I know when I first read this run, I had not read really much of any Captain America before this, maybe just a tad, and I never really felt lost at all. It was so well done and a great entry point. And I'll say for those that maybe haven't read this in a while, it has been an incredible reread what I've read so far. I have loved poring back over these pages, surprised by some of the details I've missed. It really holds up as some of the best Captain America storytelling I've ever encountered. And I will say, while this run is split across 5 omnibus volumes, even if you just check it out with this first volume 1, you'll still have a handful of some incredible story arcs that I really believe is worth the cost of entry. And as we find our way to the back of the volume here, you can probably tell this omnibus comes with a ton of extras. There's some written content here, we get some artwork throughout. It's pretty standard for volumes like this, but I will say that there is a maybe above average amount of extras at the back of this book. So for fans like myself who love all the special features, it's definitely worth a pickup. It's definitely worth taking a look at. Especially for new readers, if you haven't checked out Captain America by Ed Brubaker, now might be the time while this is still in print. And now that we've reached the end of the collection, I think it's time we gave this book a grade. For its gritty, real, and consistent art throughout, the strongest narrative voice I've ever had for any Captain America story, the introduction of the incredible Winter Soldier, and that great 65th anniversary issue, The Comic Book Report gives Captain America, the Ed Brubaker Omnibus Volume 1 an A-. This is a must-read classic collection that I believe is as timeless as the titular character. Have you read Captain America by Ed Brubaker? Let me know in the comments below, and generally what you thought about this video overall. And until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe, and until next time, have a good one.